Happy Sunday, guys. Welcome back. This is going to be a very interesting topic. But I must warn you guys, trigger warning here in the video. Trigger warning. I am going to do a video today on dating pet peeves, deal breakers, and turnoffs. This is going to be a complete rant video, okay? So, trigger warning. If you're not here for it, listen, you're not here for it. But I'm definitely here for it. And I'm basically going to use some examples from my own personal dating experiences here in this video. Brace yourself, okay? I am, like, granted, okay, so I have been single. Single meaning not in a serious long-term committed relationship since December 2017. Wow, it's been my 4-year anniversary. I'm just, wow, it's December already, 2021. So it has been 4 years, you guys, since me and my ex broke up. It was a mutual agreement that we came to. Well deserved, shall I say. But I have dated since then, though. But this year, I have not dated. I have not, went out on a date. And that is by choice. Because there comes a point in time, you guys, where, we're just over it. Just over it. I feel like at this point, it's a waste of time. You know it's bad when you feel like dating is a waste of fucking time. Like going out on dates, right? And spending time with a potential partner. So, all of this year, okay, minus January 2021, because in January, I did date 2 different guys, kind of at the same time. At the same damn time. Back in January, but since then, right, and you guys can go, I did make a whole video on fake ass Black Panther, right? That was one of the guys I was dating. Ugh. I just left a bad taste in my mouth. I was like, I'm over it. But I do meet guys, right, on dating sites. So I do have exchanges on site where we're chatting. And some guys actually make it to the point where we can exchange contact information and we take it to that level. I haven't done that. But I am going to speak on some examples from my dating experiences in Los Angeles. That's enough right there. I come across men on these dating sites, right? And they somehow think oh, you're so beautiful, you're smart. I'm overqualified. That's what I am. They're like, oh, why are you single? As if being single is a death sentence or something. Is something wrong with being single? I'm in fact, I think the longer a person stays single, the more comfortable they get. I'm so well adapted to singlehood. It's hard to come out of it. It's just hard. It's hard to come out of it because I've created this whole world just by myself. Just a thought, right? I think about it sometimes. I think about what it would be like if I found my Prince in Shining Armor, right? Mr. Right. And I somehow stumble and fall in love. And we move in together. I'll see the faces I'm making what it would be like. Is there a life that I really want? I ask myself that sometimes. Like, do I want that? Because we tend to like glamorize and have like we fantasize about like marriage, right? And it's like this fairy tale idea of what love looks like, and then it can be like that though, but then oftentimes it's not, right? So I'm just like, could I just be with the same person every day for the rest of my life? I don't think so. I probably could, but it probably get very annoying. Just waking up to the same motherfucker every day. But anyway, so we're gonna talk about some experiences, right? Damn, I should have turned off all these fucking notifications. My smoothie is so good. Maybe I should put it here. So I'm gonna talk about some examples of men I've dated, mainly in Los Angeles. I did live in LA for 4 years, y'all, from 2016 to 2020. I moved back to New York April 1st, 2020, last year. And I've come across a variety of men. I've been on many a dates. I think that's the reason why, like, this year, after January, when I was dating those two guys, I'm like, you know what? I'm exhausted. I think I'm just gonna, like, really pause on the dating, right? And be super guarded. And it's really difficult when it comes to men, like, being able to take me out on a date. And so I was successful at that, and I haven't been on any dates this year. So I feel good about myself. I feel very, like, cleansed and refreshing to not have been on any dates this year and actually not have had sex either. But it's not that, okay, every time I go on a date with a guy, like, we have sex. Not to say that. It could be possible though. Like, if I'm really feeling a guy, and shit, if I'm fucking horny, it could be possible, but not likely. Especially how this shit that y'all be doing. I'm gonna talk about that. So, what comes to mind? One of the first, biggest pet peeves that comes to mind. Like I said, I've dated like many a men. I attract all kind of men, right? And I know that there's a saying that is going around where people say like, oh, women, you know, it's about the kind of men you attract. It's not even about that, because women, beautiful women, such as myself, by the way, yo, we attract all kinds of men. Good men, bad men, fucking tall men, short men, rich men, poor men, fat, skinny. It doesn't matter, okay? Women just attract all kinds of men. It's just a matter of what kind of men suits you. What kind of men do you resonate with? Right? And so I've attracted all kind of men, of course, and I've dated all kind of men because different things like attract me to a man, right? Or resonate within me. Obviously I like alpha men who have typically high SES, socioeconomic status. Doesn't have to be though, right? Because the intellect, you can just give me with the intellect. If you're smart, like, we could have a conversation. But I was dating this guy who said that he's from Egypt, high SES. He lived in Hollywood Hills, and that's a red flag right there, right? He says from Egypt. He's not melanated at all. He kind of has some little bit pigment, but not too much, right? He's more like a Arab Egyptian, I would say. I don't even know what his fucking ethnicity is, but he's saying he's like from Egypt. He's not black. Let's put it that way. He's not melanated, right? But anyway, he has like this massive, expansive business portfolio. He owned a lot of properties in downtown LA, like investment properties. So that's where he get, like, I guess, his wealth from. He lived in Hollywood Hills. He did invite me to his mansion. He had a really nice house. I gave it to him. Though up in Hollywood Hills, like it was poor reception on my phone, so I didn't like that. But I remember he had invited me over to his place, and the date was just for us to like hang out, get to know each other, and to watch the Oscars together. Not that I'm really interested in watching the Oscars, and I think that was a year where they had no black nominees. So I'm just like, okay, whatever. So I'm at his place, and like, you know how men try to soften a woman's defenses by just making his home very welcoming, the atmosphere like welcoming, hospitable. He's just like, I'll give you a tour. He's like, you know, would you like some cheese? And asking me what is my choice drink, and I'm like, I like to drink wine. At the time, I think it was like Pinot Grigio, right? So I'm like, I'll take that. So he actually had my choice drink. Offered me like some cheese or whatever. I'm like, listen, this is not a real meal. So that right there, what kind of was a turn off? Cause like, had he fed me well, right? But nah, I think he offered some hors d'oeuvres or like finger food. Gave me a tour. I saw like, you know, his man. It was nice though. I give it to him. Like, okay. But that really doesn't impress me though, right? Like money. I mean, granted, it's good that a guy is financially stable. I think that is a requirement, but it's not like it's something that brings me over the top, right? I'm just so like, I'm so wowed by like, oh, he has money. There are some women that probably, you know, that would be like a game changer for them, right? But for me, it's not necessarily because like, listen, when a woman has her own money, that doesn't really matter. So your money doesn't matter when she has her own, basically. So I mean, it can make a guy appealing, but I think some guys think that that's all it takes. And so I'm looking like around this house, give me a tour, like looking, peering out outside through like the balcony area, looking over and seeing all the hills, and it was a nice view he had. So then we sit down, right? We're talking, and he is drinking something different than what I was drinking, right? He's drinking like a straight shot of whatever alcohol he was drinking. And I just got turned off by the fucking smell of his breath, of the alcohol on his breath. I was like, ugh. But to his defense, though, it wasn't that long, I think, between when I had broken up with my ex, my most recent relationship that I had. Ended, like I said, December 2017. We did it for like 3 years. It was really intense. I met him in New York. He's from Brooklyn. It wasn't too long after that had ended that I went on that date with him. And I think that's what it was, because my ex, unbeknownst to me, right? He was an alcoholic. I didn't know that though. This is the thing. Like, I got tricked because, like, on our first day, like, we hung out, and like he invited me to his place, and we actually saw like the whole Hidden Colors series. So that was very impressive to me, that he was, you know, kind of spiritually rooted and conscious and all of that. He's the one that kind of introduced me to Dr. Umar Johnson, right? And his whole conscious community thing. And so he had invited me to his place, and then he had like some wine coolers. And the funny thing about it is that I'm like, okay, the wine coolers really weren't for him. They were for me, right? But he was drinking them too, though, with me. Little to my knowledge, though, that wasn't suitable for him, right? He was a drinker, and I later found that out. That to me is a turnoff. So fast forward to the date with the Egyptian guy, right? Who has the house in Hollywood Hills, a little mansion. Yeah, the alcohol in his breath just wasn't doing it for me. right? I'm just like, I can't. That's just a turn off. And I think, not even, because granted, that was like maybe, I don't know how much time had elapsed after I had broken up with my ex that I went on that date. I would say, I don't know, let's say 6 months. Granted, that was 6 months post my breakup. Like, even like recently, I dated a guy who physically attractive, right? I'm attracted to him physically. He's articulate and all of that. We can have a conversation, but he drinks, and no one, like, this is the thing, no one automatically comes out and says like, oh, I'm an alcoholic, oh, I have a problem with alcohol, but you find that out. And like, listen, I like to have my glass of wine. Like, I kind of betrayed Pinot Grigio, so now my choice is Jam Jars, a South African red wine. So I'll have, a glass of wine here and there, right? But I'm certainly not an alcoholic. I certainly do not have a problem with alcohol at all. But that, like, to me is a big turn off. I don't even like people who smoke either. And so, like, yeah, even the guy, like, I dated in January, like, yeah, it didn't come off as, like, initially, he didn't, like, show, okay, he had a fucking problem. No one is going to say that. But then you see, like, the pattern, the behavior. You can see they have a high tolerance. Ding, 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 ding. High fucking tolerance, yo, for alcohol. That's what does it. And they just drink and drink. And it just keep like, damn, where's your limit? They don't really have fucking a limit. The limit is when they're fucking wasted, shitty face, wasted, and is irresponsible at that point, right? Yeah, that is a turn off. You can't say that you're a dominant man. You can't say you're alpha. How are you going to lead if you don't have agency over your faculties, right? You don't have control. How can you direct and lead a relationship if your ass is drunk all the time? That is so unattractive. So, yeah, like the guy, rewind back to the Egyptian guy, like, he tried to lean in to kiss me, right? And I think he did kiss me, and I was just totally repulsed. I was like, I'm sitting on the couch, right, and the Oscars is playing in the background. And he leans over to kiss me, and I just smelled the alcohol on his breath. I was turned the fuck off. And I could see, like, he was inebriated, and I could see his level of desperation. And another thing, yeah, I remember now about him that I did not give him a second date, and I just, like, I ghosted his ass, right? That's a word that I learned from the guy I was just talking about here in New York that I dated in January, who was also a drinker. He told me I ghosted him, so I learned that word from him. But yeah, I ghosted the guy, the Egyptian guy, right, back in LA. Not only because of the alcohol problem, but because he was so obsessed with money. Now, I get it. Yo, it makes sense, right? It's like, okay, you can't have one or the other. If a person is, like, wealthy, they have, like, this massive business portfolio, all these financial investments and real estate and all of that. Like, he owned a lot of property in downtown LA, like commercial properties or whatever. It's like, okay, that can be attractive, right? That can be admirable. On the other hand, though, that's all the conversation is about. And then he wanted to bring me into it. He was just like, oh, I can, like, show you the ropes, and I guess that would have been cool. But it was a part of me that was just like, y'all, fill me in. Feel free to interact, okay? Good afternoon, by the way. But feel free to share your thoughts, to interact. Let me know what you think. For me, I like when a guy shows interest in what I'm interested in, right? I think savvy men do this effortlessly, right? So when they date women, they are tuned. they key into what a woman is interested in. They find out. That's not just to do it just for the sake of doing it, but they curiously want to know what a woman is interested in, and they feed her interest. They nurture it. That's how you build rapport with the woman. That's how you create a bond. Smart men do that. You ever notice, like, when it comes to planning a date, right? First, second date. Men typically, like, the date is kind of centered around what a woman wants to do. It's rarely ever centered around what a man wants to do. You ever notice that? Who's watching, by the way? But you ever notice that? Like, you think about what men like to do, right? Men, I mean, a lot of men like sports and just shit that women really don't like to do. But it can be some overlap too, right? You know, I've come across men who share some of the interests as myself, like museums and art and nature, being outdoors and things like that. But yeah, I think that's kind of sexy, right? That men kind of cater to women, right? And just do things like on the first, second, third date that women like to do, right? But not only that, I think that's important. But not only that is important, I think it's important to just discuss things that a woman is interested in. And so, yeah, that Egyptian guy, he was just talking about money. And closing out on this deal and buying this property and what he's going to do and how he's going to repurpose this real estate and this and that. And I was just like, but I'm not interested in that. I guess it can be beneficial to me, right? Like if I was interested in him genuinely and we established, a relationship. But I didn't sense that the energy coming from him was like genuine or organic. I didn't sense that we were going to go anywhere, because I was just turned off by his inability to be able to sustain a conversation in person on the first date. Like, it was more physical. Like, he wanted to express his attraction towards me physically, right? And there's nothing wrong with sex. Don't get me wrong, right? Sex is great. I'm a sexual being. But we're not fucking having sex on the first date. Unless, it has to be something very magical happening. Like the alignment with the stars and the moon and all. Like, things have to be perfectly aligned. Where it has to have, be purposeful. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think that's not often, right? Some guys get lucky where, okay, it does happen that way, where just everything is properly aligned and, we're feeling each other, like, we're in the mood, the vibe is right, and shit. We have sex. But I wasn't feeling that way with him. It was alcohol on his breath. So that's a big fucking pet peeve, turn off, and deal breaker for me, given that my last relationship, he was an alcoholic, and that coincided with abusive behaviors. Complete fucking turn off. So I don't like men who drink excessively. I just don't. A lot of people drink excessively, though, I think. So that's like that eliminates a lot of men out of my dating pool. Because a lot of men do. They drink a lot. But we can drink, we can share drinks, just, you gotta have control over it. Have a low tolerance, like myself. Not a high tolerance. You gotta maybe throwing back bottles of fucking alcohol, like that shit is nothing. Just wasted and sloppy with it. And that's not how you should show up on a first date. Anyway. That's a turn off to me. But anyway, so that was that. That's a great example of one of my biggest pet peeves, turn-offs, deal breakers. Is just, the alcohol and not catering to and feeding topics that interest me. Another one is low self-esteem, yo. So I was dating this other guy. I dated a lot of guys in Los Angeles. I go on a lot of dates. That's why, like I said, I feel good this year. The entire year, I didn't go like on any dates this year, except for like January. But yeah, so to go an entire year and not go on any dates, like thumbs up. But yeah, I've been on a lot of dates, and so another guy I dated in LA. He was, I guess, in the entertainment industry, I guess you could say. He like was the size of like a football player. Like he used to play football, right? So he was kind of buff, kind of beefy. Um, Nice chocolate skin, well groomed, clean shaven, all of that good stuff that I like in men, right? Smell good, all of that. He had like the physical appearance down pat. He was straight in that department. Financially stable, owned his own home in California. That's pretty good. That's nice, right? But it's always something. Like I don't know. People tell me like, Danielle, you're single, right? Kids, 38. You need to not be so picky. I don't think there's a such thing as being too picky, right? It's like, oh, like nobody is perfect. Of course, no one is perfect. But listen, I am not going to lower my standards just to massage somebody else, right, or appease somebody else. I think I have the tendency to do that. Just how I was raised, because I grew up like in a very strict household with my mom. My dad, he was more lenient, more permissive, but my mom's parenting style was more strict and authoritarian. And so that kind of created this aspect in me that is very agreeable. Sometimes I would say agreeable and appease, like to appease people, right, or placate people. And I know that about myself. I'm very self-aware of that aspect of me. So me being conscious in that aspect of me, I make a conscious effort to set boundaries with people and to stand up for myself, to advocate for myself, right? So I'm on a date, and this wasn't the first. I don't think this was the first date with this guy that I'm talking about, right? Guy number 2. Now, this is not happening in no specific order, though, right? But this is just the second guy I'm talking about here in this video. He, well, what should we call him? I don't even know what kind of nickname I would give him, right? He says like he had like a podcast, but he didn't want me to listen to the podcast. So he was like very guarded, like in like me getting to know like certain parts of him. So to me that's a red flag too, right? Because it's like he showed me parts of him, but other parts he was just like, oh, I don't want you. Because I'm kind of the same way too. Like I'm not so quick to give a guy like my YouTube channel, right? So that was kind of one of those things where he was like, oh, well, I don't want to tell you what the name of my podcast, right? Listen, that's how you know we're not going no further, right? Because you're setting up all these goddamn safeguards and shit, which that makes my guards go up even more. If you got your guards up, my guards gonna go up automatically, right? So what we doing here? But I would just call, what can I call, what's the nickname can I call him? He used to play football, but he wasn't a football player like when I met him. I would just say, I don't know, football player. So we went on several dates, yo. And the dates were pretty cool. I ain't even gonna front. Like, the dates were nice we went on, but one of the dates we had went to Venice Beach area. And there were, like the strips, not like the boardwalk strip, but like there are streets that, have a bunch of stores leading up to the beach, right? And so we went to this really nice, because it's, I'm a foodie, so the fact that we stopped and we chose a good restaurant that had some really good breakfast, that's good, because you just don't know, just randomly picking places to eat at, right? Especially in LA. New York is a different story. In LA, yeah, the food in LA, but they had good food. And so as we were leaving restaurant. We were outside, and yo, it's hilarious. I cracked myself up, but no, he saw like some people, right, on those electric scooters. Now his size, okay, let me try to paint a picture. I would say he stood at 6'2", 6'3", maybe. Weight wise, I know he was over 200, well over 200 pounds. I would say maybe 200, like football player size. He was kind of big, right? But that's not a concern for, but that was a concern for me, right? If his size was a concern for me, we wouldn't have dated. I wouldn't have entertained a date with him. So that wasn't it. But it was an issue for him, clearly, and it came out, right? It came out clearly at this point where we were at Venice Beach after we had eaten. And we went outside, and he saw like people riding around the scooters. He was like, "Oh, let's go riding on the scooter." And I didn't want to ride on a scooter, right? This is me like standing up and advocating for myself, right? Because I have my own mind, and that's what I think a lot of guys don't like. They don't like when women have their own mind. But I've always had my own mind, yo. Like, it should be clear as day. I'm moved to the beat of my own drum. And so you'll know if I don't like something or if I don't want to do something. And I stand on that. And so I was like, I don't really want to do that, right? He was like, "Oh, come on, let's go." I'm like, I don't want to fucking ride the scooter. I don't want to do it. I have no interest in riding a fucking scooter. I like to walk. Walking is my thing, right? And so he was disappointed, but then he got triggered. And he let me know that he had an issue with his own weight. He felt insecure, and it came out where he said, "Oh, it's because I'm big? You don't want to be seen with me, a big guy, on a scooter?" What? I wasn't even thinking anything like that. But that's what he was thinking, because that's something he's dealing with, yo. Apart from me, ain't got shit to do with me. Apart from me, that's what his ass dealing with. His own insecurities regarding his weight. And he said that, and I'm just like, I am turned the fuck off, yo. But I wouldn't say that was a deal breaker. It was a turn off, definitely. It wasn't a deal breaker because I still I gave him another chance. He had so many motherfucking chances. Like, this guy, I can write a whole book on our fucking experience. And we were talking, I would say, over the course of just weeks, not even months. It was just weeks. I don't even think I want to spend too much time on him, though, because I have other examples. But he fucked up like so many times, yo. I'll give one more example with him, all right, and I'm gonna leave it at that. But actually, I have a lot of examples, because he fucked up so many times. That the insecure energy, like, he had very low self-esteem surrounding his weight, surrounding his his self-concept, just all together. And to me, like, that's a turnoff. And that's the thing about me. It should be clear, though, especially being a therapist and a psychologist, is like, whatever is hidden within you, right? Whatever issues you're struggling with, whatever shadows you have, right? Whatever things that are lying dormant in your subconscious that you repress, like, that shit it's gonna come out naturally. Like, and you may feel I bring it out, you may feel I trigger it. I'm very confident in who I am. And so I always say this, that when you're around me, whether male or female, but especially men, considering, right, on the dating scene, it's like, you gotta be 10 toes down. You have to be confident in who you are, because you're going to hate my fucking existence. I'm gonna rub you a certain kind of way. You know, either it's like you admire me, you love me, or your ass is just going to fucking hate. And I know this because that's just how that's the dynamic that happens when I'm interacting, right? I'm in relationship. I've seen it play out, like even in my most recent long term relationship. Yo, and it's like, so. Well, think about me, right? When I see that a guy has low self esteem, when that beast kind of rears its ugly head, like in a relationship that I am in with a guy, I tend to like play around with that low self esteem a little bit, though, right? It's like, why not? And I feel like it's an area of growth for a man. So if he's not careful, a lot of men aren't careful though. This is the thing. They ain't got their shit to. You gotta have your shit together, fucking with me. Because if not, you are going to be triggered, right? And you're going to become angry. You're going to become very angry. But you should be angry at me. You need to work on your own shit. That's all what it is, right? It's all love coming from this way. But it's just like, yeah, I'm gonna fuck with you. You know what I'm saying? Like when I see like, okay, you have that weakness, you have low self-esteem. I'm not like, it's not fucking with you in a sense like, oh, you're big, or oh, like it's not in that way, but it's gonna like, it's more in a subconscious subtle way where you're gonna feel like it's like your insecurity is going to grow even bigger. Right? When is put on the table, when I see that you're insecure. Basically I'm trying to say that I'm not going to stroke your insecurity and make you feel better. In fact, I'm going to challenge you, right? So you got to know how to deal with that. I'm not gonna stroke your ego. I'm just not. So when I come across men who I like, let's say are narcissists, right? Narcissists need their ego stroked. And think about narcissism. I thought very deeply about this, right? Thinking about this guy here, the football player guy, is that it kind of stems from insecurity. You think it makes sense though. You think about it. A person who is deeply insecure within themselves, the way you cope with that insecurity is developing this grandiose idea about yourself, right? In your place in the world, considering you feel so insignificant, right? And you have this concept that has, or this you have this construct, this complex that has been developed, right, in your mind about yourself and who you are in relation to other people in the world. And that complex is really, the truth about it is really that you feel insignificant, you're insecure, right? And this can stem from many different things, right? You know, some people had a terrible childhood, you know, were abandoned, all kinds of shit, right? Just didn't feel loved, felt very just insignificant. So to cope with that, it makes sense. You develop this grandiose, right, about yourself. And then to go with that, you use people around you to feed that false sense of identity, that grandiosity, right? That makes you feel good about yourself. Because you really feel like shit on the inside. That is the nature of narcissism. Think about like the origin of narcissism, where it comes from. That's where it comes from, right? So you gotta know when a person is manifesting narcissistic traits, what's on the other side of that, right? Clear as day. Like it's like insecurity just screaming out. Insecure, right? Low self-esteem. And so what do narcissists like? They love it when you fucking feed stroke their ego, just making them feel like top of the world. That's what they need, apparently, clearly. So that's the reason why they create situations that nurture that, what they need, that fulfill that void of what they need. They need to be stroked because they didn't get that oftentimes growing up as a child. That nurturing, that validation, right? But when you're interacting with me, I see that in you. And so narcissists typically are very like, because they do it so well, right? It's like an adaptive mechanism, coping mechanism they've learned and they perfect it so well, right? To the extent where it comes naturally, like the things that you see in narcissists, it comes naturally. It's a coping mechanism. It's a survival mechanism, right? They do it so well that people usually fall in the trap of feeding what they desire. Except for me, because I see it head on. And so when I'm dating someone like that, I make a conscious effort not to stroke their ego. And yes, of course, it rubs them the wrong way. Yo, they hate. I can see, like, I can feel the anger just growing, brewing inside of them. They're like, this bitch. Yo, I saw it in my ex. I saw it in him. Like, I have that ability just to see people, like, see their weaknesses and their strengths too, but just to see like their demons. And I'm not afraid. Some people run the other way. I don't run the other way. I like to work with it, right? But a person has to be mature enough to face their own shit. And so I don't like when people have these oversized egos, right? And they are underdeveloped in their maturity as men. That's a turnoff. Because that's how it plays out. It's just a turnoff. And so this guy, right, on Venice Beach, I'm on a date with him on Venice Beach, like, he's having a whole pity party about not wanting to ride the scooter, and then he says it's because he's overweight. And I'm just like, so I realized, like, I knew at that point it wasn't going to work, even before that point though. But I continue, like I said, to talk to him. I continue to entertain the idea of her relationship with him, right? Can you imagine dating someone who struggles with, like, weight, right? And not that they struggle with weight, but the struggle with that they have their own weight feeds into insecurity and low self-esteem. That's a lot to deal with. I'm just like, So that was one thing. Another thing, like him being, he's so insecure, right? And I think it was linked to the feelings that he has about himself, negative feelings he has about himself, linked to weight. And also bad experiences, like past experiences with exes probably who cheated on him and all of that. And that's why people, it's important you got to go get therapy. Because if not, it's going to just continue to bleed. Like this negative gunk you have inside of you, oftentimes stemming way back to childhood, it's going to continue to just grow and grow and grow. And you're going to let it bleed into other relationships and you wonder why. But anyway. So I could just see that he was insecure. And so at the time, my best friend, who I had for many years since I graduated college in 2006, like we would talk like every day. And he had called me, right? I think he had texted me. And so the guy I'm dating, right, the football player guy, he was like, let me see. Let you see my phone, my text. I'm like, I can tell he's insecure. I can show you my phone and my text, but that's not going to make you feel better. It's going to make you feel worse because you're going to see that the name says a male's name. It's not a woman's name. But even if it was a woman's name, you probably would still feel a certain like jealousy or whatever, right? People who are insecure themselves, anything can make their ass trigger, right? But yeah, he was like jealous and insecure because I have friends. And I had a guy friend, right, who was texting me. And he wanted to see my phone, and that's a fucking pet peeve. Like, are you fucking kidding me? I'm not, no. Yo, if I am interested, if I tell you I'm single, number one, I'm single, okay? I'm single. Believe it, I'm single. I don't have anything to fucking lie about. Time will show and tell that I'm single. Regardless if I'm getting text messages or if I have a friend, a guy, best friend who happens to be a guy. But you feel a certain kind of way about that. It's like he could have gotten to know the guy and see that, number one, that's a whole nother fucking example of a pet peeve. We're going to get there in a minute. But number one, I'm not really attracted to his ass, even though we did date, though, my best friend. I did date my best friend, right? But he would have got to see that I'm not even attracted to him. So, yeah, that was his fuck up. So another thing, this is 3 from the same guy. The first guy, I think I gave 2 pet peeves, right? With the fucking alcohol addiction, the breath, and the obsession with money. This guy, 3 pet peeves, right? The insecurity, well, it kind of all linked together, right? The underlying factor was the insecurity, but it kind of showed up with the incident with riding the fucking electric scooter and him talking about his weight, him wanting to see my fucking text messages. And the other one was, yo, and this, like, prior to this, he had paid for the dates. But do you know, this motherfucker showed his ass, yo. We had went to, I think it was Denny's, right? And it was his idea. He offered to take me to this area where I was working, right? This is when I worked at the prison in the valley. Not the valley. I wasn't in the fucking valley. No, take that back. I wasn't. Or was that the valley area? What do you call that area? Anyway, doesn't matter. It was in California, right? I worked at a prison. And I was thinking about moving closer to where I worked at the prison, right? So I didn't have to take that drive every morning and back. And so I had expressed to him that I was looking for a place closer there. And he was like, oh, well, you know, I'll take you. Me, like, I'm so independent. Like, I was going to plan to go there myself. But, you know, he wanted, since we were dating at the time, he was like, I'll take you, right? His idea, he offered. I'm like, all right. I typically accept, like, when people offer, most of the time. Depends, though. Because I just had someone offer me, a guy friend offer me recently. It's like, oh, you want to be filming? You want to be part? No, I'm good. But anyway, yeah, he offered, and so like part of that before we did the apartment search, which we didn't even get to the fucking apartment. You see how that shit? This is manipulation at its finest, yo. This is the reason why you can't date a person who is insecure. Because we all have insecurities, right? When we're talking about like the nature, like the complex of a person is just it screams insecurity. It's not good, yo. Because everything is just gonna go bad, right? So, before we were supposed to go for the apartment search, we stopped at Denny's. His idea. Went inside, we each ordered what we wanted to order. Sitting down, eating. And then he brings up, out the blue, this is like a red flag, yo. This goes for like anybody. People just starting shit. Just random fucking starting shit, yo. We can be having a good time and you just pick a fight, just picking shit to. So he randomly says, I don't feel that you care about me. I'm like, what? It's like, yeah, I don't feel that you care about me because you never said thank you each time after I took you out I'm like, I know that's a goddamn lie, because I'm very thankful and appreciative of anything. But I guess he was looking for a thank you, and I had to think like, damn, did I say thank you? Like, he's expecting a thank you after each date, and we went like on several dates, right? You can see I'm grateful. Do I need to say thank you? But I'm like, I'm pretty sure I said thank you. But anyway, he was like, yeah, I don't feel like you care about me. And so he said, I'm not paying for the meal. I'm like, you fucking kidding me? We both ate. This was your choice. So the thing about me, I may be this college girl, educated and all of that, right? Fucking PhD. But listen, I'm from the hood. Listen, do not fucking play with me, right? When a person start acting ghetto and ratchet, I act even more ghetto. Like, or I can. I said I can't. Not all the time, but I can though. I can go there, okay? I can listen, we can go there, right? So he says, I'm not paying for this. I'm like, okay. I see what time it is, right? He gets up and walks out. The waitress comes, and she's, checking. And I say, he just walked out, but he's gonna come back and pay for this. He's going to come back. He's going to pay. Fucking play with me. So I got up. I said, don't worry. I'm gonna go out there and get him. He's gonna pay. We're done eating. We're done here. I get up, go outside. Because I know how to handle fucking men and their little feelings and acting like a goddamn baby. Grown ass goddamn men acting like a goddamn baby. Having a temper tantrum. That's what it was. I know how to handle that shit. I don't like it. It's a fucking turn off, but I know how to handle it, right? So I'm going out there, and his ass on the phone. I don't know who the fuck he's talking to. I can care less who the fuck he's talking to, right? But he's on the phone, and I say, you're gonna come back and pay for this, right? Like, do not sit up here and embarrass me. If you got something to say to me, don't sit up here and wait till we get out here in public to make a scene. Now is not the time. We can talk about this in the car, but do not sit up here and make this big scene trying to show out in front of these goddamn white people. That's what we not going to do. Because you already know that there is a stereotype about black people going to sit down at restaurants and eating and not paying. Do not fucking do that, because I know I'm not going to fucking pay. I can't easily pay for my own goddamn food, but that's not what it's about. It's about the principle of the matter. You invited me out. This is a date. Listen, there's a formality to this. You're not going to sit up here and do that, okay? And so he goes back in. Of course he fucking pays for it. Got me fucked up. Of course he pays for it, right? He pays for it, and we sit in the car, and we drive off. In his mind, though, because I dealt with a fucking narcissist and a master manipulator, so I know how to do this shit, yo. It was all a stunt. Men do shit like that. Like, I don't even know if you should call them men, but do shit like that, right? As a stunt. But I'm always 10 steps ahead, right? In my mind, and so the plan was to go to the apartment, right, that I had a tour at. Check out the apartment. In his mind, that's where we're going next. But in my mind, I'm like, oh no, I'm done. I'm done with his ass. Like, you're not fucking about to play me like that. When you show your ass once, that's it. You ain't gonna have another time to show your ass with me. It just don't go that way, right? You showing your ass. Talking about you gonna eat a whole goddamn meal, talking about you not paying. Don't play with me. And so we get in the car, right? He had an SUV. I forget which kind. It was nice, newer model SUV, right? We get in the truck, and he was like, "All right, tell me where to go." See, I know I can act too. Motherfucker want to be acted. Listen, I can act too, right? So he put on the act. All right, let's get in actor mode now. So I put in my GPS the address to the closest public transportation station. Because I can get my own way back home. We're not doing this. I'm done. Our date is over with, right? And we driving and he pull up. He's like, wait, this don't look like a subdivision. This don't look like an apartment complex or subdivision. Yeah, you're right. It's a goddamn public transportation, motherfucker. I'm done. This motherfucker had a whole nother pity party. Oh, see, I was right. You do care, but like, nah, dog. Don't fucking play with me. Listen. So that whole conversation, because he's sitting up here and tried to create this whole mood of, oh, he's a victim now. Oh, pity party. Oh, I feel bad for me. Stay, don't leave. Why are you leaving? You ain't see what you just did in the motherfucking Denny's. I'm not the one, dog. Have your shit together. Like, I don't want to date a man where I feel like I'm babysitting him, right? Or I'm raising the little boy inside of him, right? I get it. Listen, like they say, nobody is perfect, Danielle. We all have our weaknesses. But that's just not the kind of relationship I want to be in, though. To be honest with you. I'm a baby girl myself. I like to be nurtured. I like to have my ego strokes. I like to be nurtured in that way. I like to be told what to do, right? So considering, how we gonna both be babies in this goddamn relationship, right? You a goddamn baby boy, I'm a baby girl, and we both need our shit stroked. Like, what the fuck? Somebody got to be the goddamn boss, right? I can't date a man like that. And that's how these men want to show up. You want to show up like a goddamn baby. I can see the baby in you. Like, having a whole temper tantrum. I know how to work with that, like I said. I know what to do. And I know, like, I get it. I get the motivation for your behavior and why you're acting this way. And what I need to do to respond to that, to de-escalate the situation, make you feel better and put a smile on. I know how to do that. But do I want to do that? Do I want to be with something? No, I do not. Okay? So, of course, I ended that shit. Fuck that. But I did give his ass another chance, though. I put his ass in timeout, and then I think 2 weeks later, a week later, he went on another day. He called himself trying to make it up. But it's just a level of it's just so fucking insecure. It's not gonna change, right? That's just who he is. I'm just like, I just can't. It was good qualities about him, but the good I felt like did not outweigh the bad. If I'm turned off by you, I'm turned off. And I think, like they say, ignorance is bliss. So if I was much younger and less seasoned, right, less educated in those days, I think it's much easier to fall in love, right? But it's like the more experience you have, the more seasoning you have, the more education, the more fucking common sense you have. You know, especially with my training as a psychologist, like, you see shit and you just like get turned off. Like, I don't want to date a client, all right? I'm looking at these people, these men, right, and seeing through them. Like, you can easily be a fucking client of mine. I don't want to date a client. I can't. I want to date a man who shows up as a man. You ain't gotta be perfect, right? You can be willing to notice you have issues you need to work on. And granted, this guy, right, the football player guy I was just telling you about, number 2, he did admit, his weaknesses. He talked about, he's aware of it, right? He's like, I grew up foster care. I was adopted by this white family. That's where I think a lot of his financial stability comes from, right? He grew up, was raised by like a wealthy white family, but he still have these issues of abandonment. I can tell. It just shows up clear as day. The insecurity and where you going. Let me see your phone. Just always hyper vigilant, thinking that a woman's intent is to leave. Like, we're just meeting each other. How do you think I'm going to leave? But they are so obsessed with the idea of abandonment or fear that someone is going to leave them that they push them away. So that at least if a person leaves, that they're in control of that, right? That's their way of regaining control, feeling empowered in those situations when they feel disempowered, because they are still struggling with that fear of abandonment that they had from childhood. So I'm just like, I get it, but do I want to deal with this? Hell, fuck no, man. That's, and that's where a lot of times it not all, but I would say sometimes, it drives men with those characteristics to cheating, because just a lot that comes with it that I don't want to deal with, right? Because they're insecure. That was that guy. So another example, guy number 3, he actually was a physician. I have so many. I can go on and on. I have so many examples, but I feel like this is going to be a really fun video. We are at an hour. Let's see how long we'll go. Another guy. This is in LA. There are a lot of guys in LA. A lot. So another guy was a physician guy, ophthalmologist, who I had met. He worked at UCLA. I didn't meet him at UCLA, but he worked at UCLA. Cool guy. I feel like, it's alright. I like intellect. I like when a guy is just doing something with himself, right? Noteworthy, right? There's always something. So we went on dates, went to museums. That's what I like. I like when guys like nurture a woman's interest. He definitely nurtured my interest, and we did things that I enjoyed doing. However, this was the first date. He picked me up, right? And we get maybe like a couple blocks from where he picked me up at. And he stopped the car. He kept looking at me, yo. I'm like, I get it. I can be very attractive, right? I know I'm an attractive woman, right? But just to be sitting up here just staring at a woman the entire time. He parks the car and he's just staring at me, yo, like a fucking vulture. Just staring. He's ready to fucking eat me alive. And he's like, I want to kiss you. Nah, man. I don't want to kiss you. I said, no, I don't. Listen, if I'm not feeling it, I'm not feeling it. Like, you'll know. If I'm feeling it, then you'll know. That's why I'm like, listen, guys who have dated me watching this, listen, if we kiss, or we fuck, count yourself lucky, okay? Because, like a lot of guys I date, very qualified, I would say, in many other departments, but we didn't connect in that way. I didn't kiss them, didn't have sex with them, whatever, right? So count yourself lucky if you did. You got a chance to connect in that level, which leads me to another example. Oh, I got examples for fucking days. That's why I'm a fucking writer, yo. Guys, listen, I got fucking material for days. But yeah, he stopped the car and he was like, "I want to kiss you." I denied it. I can't. Right? We went out on a date. We went to a few museums, like in the area of USC. It's a school, University of South California, right? They don't understand the whole vibe. Yeah, they don't. They don't understand etiquette. That's what it is. They don't understand like dating etiquette, right? That's why I'm making this video. I'm trying to help you guys, right? And so, yeah, we did the whole museum thing. Went to like, I think at least 3 museums in that area, right? The California African American Museum, I think Museum of Science or something like that, another museum, right? And so I think after that, yeah, he took me to like his work. He works at UCLA. He took me to his work. I like the part that he was transparent, like open about who he was, because that helps to like soften my defenses. Like, I don't know you, so naturally people just have defenses, right? As you should on a blind date, right? On a first date with someone you do not know this person, right? It's not natural to just be completely defenseless, right? Anything goes. We don't live in that kind of world, unfortunately. So, I like when guys like are sensitive to that, reality, and they do things to soften a woman's defenses. And so, like, he showed me his ID badge, not just his like work ID to show like his name and his position as a doctor there, but he showed me like his government ID, like voluntarily, just like here, because he know people are aware, like, okay, how the dating world is, and it's just some crazy freaks out there, so you gotta be careful. He showed me that. He took me to his, work, just to try to make it like, to acclimate me to like his world, right? Because like, we did things that I like to do. That's like my world, going to museums. So he took me to like his space, his world. Took me to where he works, and just weird. In the fucking office, right? At UCLA, like his department where he works. And he brings up sex. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with sex. I'm a sexual person. I write BDSM erotica, right? It's not that I'm completely opposed to it, but I just think that it's inappropriate. No, you're not. We're not there. We're not there yet, and it never happened because I feel like I don't like to be pressured. And he just kept talking. He kept bringing it up, and I also think it was a cultural difference too, right? That like he's Nigerian. I've dated a lot of Africans, right? But to be obsessed with it like that, like sex, he just kept talking about it. So we were sitting down like in his works where he usually works. He's talking about that. I'm just like, that's inappropriate. Then he mentions like, oh, there's a shower, there's a couch like on the next level up, the next floor up. We can go up there. It's like he must have done this before. Nah, dog. I'm like, either he done this before or he hasn't had sex in a long time. I'm like, that is a fucking turn off, yo. I get it. Like, if you haven't had sex in a long time, right, then you're just thirsty. You're desperate for it. You just need it. You're like, please have sex with me. Please help me release this energy that I need to release. Like, I get it, but nah, dog. So I just had, like, that was it for us. I'm just like, he makes a good salary, especially as an ophthalmologist. They make good money, but nah, I couldn't. I just couldn't. Tanika says, this is my issue with men. Why is sex such a need? Exactly. I mean, I think it's biologically driven to their defense, right? Definitely a turn off. Let me give you a sign or something. Yeah, I think for men, because obviously it's common, right? This issue of them wanting to have sex. I think it's biologically driven, so it's like they don't really have control over it. But I feel like psychologically, a man should be at a point of maturity to know how to respond to his biological urges, right? So we know nature, biology, is a very forceful, powerful thing, right? Sometimes you can't like try to compete with biology. It happens, right? It's nature. But mind over matter, though. If you're psychologically mature and you have self-control, you should know how to respond to those impulses that you feel within your body, whether you're woman or man. And I think that's the issue that men have. Some men, anyway, not all. That they are immature in their development and not knowing how to respond to those natural biological impulses to have sex, right? They have a high sex drive, and some try to justify it by saying that they have so many millions of sperm, they have to like release those sperm and get it out there and populate the earth, right? That's one theory. But it's just like, yeah, you're driven to do that, but also wouldn't you want to be strategic? And you have men that will tell you the other side to that coin of just being indiscriminate in your behavior, your sex behavior, and just fucking every goddamn thing with a hole in it. the other side to that is child support, right? And you have men that tell you, oh, you gotta be careful who you stick your dick into. They learned this the hard way. You gotta be fucking careful. Cause no, you're not supposed to fuck everything or every woman. You just not, no. You're not. And then the baby comes. And even if a baby doesn't come, just, you fucked the wrong thing, then you fuck somebody who was fucking crazy. Now she got this strange fucking attachment to your ass, right? And she won't leave you alone. She's wreaking havoc, causing trouble in your life. You know, like, that can be very problematic, disrupting your whole flow, your whole, like, situation you got going on. You wish that you never met her. So, you have a brain for a reason to be able to think. Yeah. You have this brain down between your legs that drives your behavior and tells you what to do. But you also have another brain. And you got to be able to balance the two. But truth for me, sex is sex. Once the act is done, I need something more to stimulate my interest. Excuse my language, unless the sex leaving a physical impression, I don't dwell after it's over. Yeah, right? Like, we're all sexual beings, both men and women, right? That's just a part of who we are. But it gotta be more than just sex. And some men think that they can get a woman with sex. So it's not to say that I'm completely opposed to having sex and I will not have sex on the first date. Because like I said earlier in the video, like, it depends on a lot of different factors, right? If things are aligned and I'm fucking horny, I'm really feeling a guy, shit, we just might fucking have sex on the first date that we meet. We just might, right? Because it's not, I don't demonize sex in that way. But it's in how you go about it. Like, you gotta be smooth, suave with it. Some men just ain't got no swag with it, you know? Like, if you appear like you just overly fucking desperate, like one of those, freak motherfuckers, right? Like, kind of cornball ass, like, weirdo type of mother, like, nah. Right? Like, peeping Tom kind of motherfuckers, like, you tell they don't really get none. That, to me, is a turn off, right? But if you come off like, okay, kind of suave, not so suave that you're nonchalant and you kind of dismissive, you know, of a woman's presence and act like, oh, well, you know, you don't care either way kind of thing. Not to that extreme, but more balance in the middle where, like, you acknowledge a woman's beauty, your attraction to her, physical, you know, mental and spiritual attraction, and it's a balanced interaction where it's not hyper focused on sex, but, you know, we're talking about other things and you're admiring other aspects of me as a woman more so than just my physical beauty, right? It's other parts to me that matter, but, you know, sometimes I think men, yeah, they have their need and they gotta get it met. Right? It's the reason why prostitution is a big deal, right? Especially out in Los Angeles, so many fucking prostitutes, y'all. It's a whole stroll. When I lived in South Central LA, it wasn't too far from a whole stroll. What was it called? Western Avenue, I think it was. Western Avenue, over there in the 60s Crip neighborhood. And that was a whole deal, yo. So many goddamn, like, and I would take the bus, right? I take public transportation and just getting off the bus. I'm walking down the goddamn whole stroll, right? With a book bag on, motherfuckers trying to pick me up now, bruh. I was waiting that way, nah. But, yeah, it's the reason why, like, prostitution is a whole industry, you know, because men need that fix. I get it, but have some decorum. You know, like, you can get your needs met. Men have gotten their needs met, right? Just in a respectful way, self-respecting way. Agreed, it can happen. First date I had before, but these dudes literally have it in their agenda. Whole conversation activities surrounds. Exactly, yo. And then for this guy, like the physician guy, to be thinking about that and like kind of plan it out. I'm like, maybe he planned to take me there aside from just acclimate me to his world, but to take me to a place where he felt safe to have sex. Like, what the fuck? Ugh. Oh no, dog. My thing is this: sex is good, but that shit got to be good, okay? And a lot of guys be wanting to fuck your shit whack. That is another turn off, which leads me to another guy, another example. Right. And by the way, that guy, the physician, no, we did not have sex. Hell, fuck no. Because I just got, it was just, he was too antsy about it. And I felt like, nah, his shit wouldn't have been good anyway. Right? Because I feel like if you got a good package down there, like if you got something to bring to the table, then you ain't gotta be out there flying shit. You know what I'm saying? Like a woman should want to come to you and desire you. Make her want you. I like men who present themselves in that way. Make me want you, right? Make me like, damn. Make me start moving in a kind of more nonverbal, subconscious way of, you know, women communicate to men that we want sex without even saying it with our mouth, right? Just the way we behave. You can tell when a woman ready. You know what I'm saying? You look, you can tell like, yeah, she want to fuck, right? And you start to read her body language, right? Yeah, put me in that position. See, men don't know that strategy. Some men don't know that strategy, right? And so it's just, it ain't gonna happen. Come on now, you kidding me? Some men just whack. They have no fucking game at all, you know. Which leads me to another one, right? Where, wait, was that number 3? Yeah, the first one was the Egyptian guy. The second one was the football player. And then the physician, the third guy was the example. I'll give you guys one more. And I gotta end this video. One more example, right? Of this guy, this motherfucker. Now, granted, this is a good friend of mine, right? He's a good friend. Good African guy. I'm thinking, should I mention the name of his country he's from? Sometimes these oranges be juicy, but this is fucking dry as shit. I think it's GMO. Let's see what this one tastes like. I don't think I'm gonna mention a country. I don't want to make. Alright, it's bad enough I mention a continent. I want to make Africa look bad, but I ain't gonna make his country look bad, y'all. Because y'all may take it and generalize it to all men of this country are like that, but I did mention that the ophthalmologist guy was a Nigerian, so Well, anyway, so this guy, he's from Gambia, right? And so we're good friends. This one is more like, I don't know what was up with the other one. And he's one of my good friends here in New York, where even when I was living back in LA, like he would allow me access to his place. Give me keys to his place, you know, while he's at work, I can stay there for free, no obligation, right? But we also dated too, though. And so we ended the date, though. I had to like cut it off because I'm like, I don't think it's gonna work. He's Muslim, by the way, right? I don't have anything against Muslims, right? Because there are different kinds of Muslims, but he was like obsessed. Like, extreme with that shit. Going to the mosque. And I made a video about this, dating a Muslim, right? I've talked about this before. So many of these stories I'm telling you guys about, I've already talked about before. But, yeah, praying 5 times a day. Going to the mosque. That's all he did. Just go to work and go to the mosque. That's it. Alright, boring as shit. That's another pet peeve. Turn off. But the deal breaker, because things can be turn offs and pet peeves in a relationship. They don't really gotta be deal breakers, right? Like a person can still deal with turn offs in a relationship or pet peeves. Sometimes you just tolerate, you deal with it. You don't like it, but you deal with it, right? But the deal breaker, because I mentioned another deal breaker earlier. I mentioned a lot of pet peeves and turnoffs, right? But the deal breaker that I mentioned earlier was just an alcoholic. That's a fucking deal breaker, right? Another deal breaker? Bad sex, yo. And I made a video about this recently. Is bad sex a deal breaker or something like that, right? Hell fuck yeah. motherfucker had a pencil dick, y'all. He came quick as shit. And that shit happens a lot. Yo, having sex, like, with men, like, a lot of men come quick. I'm like, okay, are you coming quick because that's just your MO? Or you super excited, you really like me? I'm a pussy tight motherfucker. Pussy be grabbing that dick. What? Grabbing it. Yo, but it's bad. When God comes, like the moment he stick his dick in there, I'm talking about he's sliding in, and he coming. Like what? That's bad. That's what this motherfucker did. I'm like, nah, dog. That's some sexual frustration right there, and it's even heightened even more. All right, the degree of sexual frustration that I had with this motherfucker, right? The Gambian motherfucker was heightened times 10 because prior to having sex with him, I hadn't had sex that entire year. This was 2018. The entire fucking year post my breakup with my ex, who I dated for 3 years, right? I was telling you guys about at the beginning of the video, right? I broke up with him December 2017. My ex. Last long-term relationship. The entire year of 2018, no sex. Except for December 2018, right? I met the Gambian guy. We're still friends, by the way. We've been friends for 3 years. Wow. I need to call him like, yo, it's our fucking 3-year anniversary of friendship. But anyway, so we talking about going a whole fucking year, no sex. Of course, I got fucking build up, my nigga. And to break that abstinence with a pencil dick ass nigga that didn't even last 10 seconds. Frustrated, yo. But see, this is the thing about women. A lot of us were guilty of this. We be trying to spare men's feelings, yo, and I spared his feelings. So I didn't like react or like visibly show that I was dissatisfied or disappointed or anything like that. I was just like, But deep down inside, I'm like, what the fuck? I was just, yo. I think probably that's what like everything that happened after that, like. Let's say, okay, let's say this. Let's say the sex was good. Let's say this nigga motherfucking knocked the Mario coins out this pussy, my nigga. Let's say he was like, yo, left an imprint. You know what I'm saying? Like, psychological, emotional imprint on my ass. That's some good dick when a man do that, right? Let's say it happened that way. Would I be more tolerable to our cultural differences? Would I have been more tolerable to our cultural differences? Probably so. But I think because the sex was whack from the jump, yo, I just think I was more irritable, right? And just had less tolerance for anything. I was just like, ugh. Like, he fucked it up, right? So he's cool. Like, he's a nice guy. Don't get me wrong. He's a nice guy. Like, I share with you guys like posts, right? Where he cooked like he would like make me like these like platters of like fruit and stuff like that, right? Like, he's like very like supportive and catering. Every morning, like, he went to work, I was staying with him. He would like leave me money. He would just make sure I'm okay. He would like go get breakfast for me. I didn't ask for this, by the way. This is things that he went out, he just did on his own. Went out and got breakfast, bring it back, leave it on the table, because he get up early in the morning, go to work. I'm still in the bed. So by the time I wake up, I'm like, oh, you already got breakfast and shit. Like, I just felt like he laid out the red carpet. I'm just like, damn. I feel like a fucking queen. So I felt good in that respect. But damn, yo, the sex was whack. And it's funny because I remember, I made a video about it. And this woman gonna comment talking about, oh, come on, Danielle. Y'all can take a sex class. Like, he can work on it. Like, something that can be changed. Like, he can improve upon, right? Nah, dog. Fuck that. We too old to be taking sex classes, right? And I'm like, first of all, out of all people I know about fucking sex education and workshops, and I know all about that. Excuse me. I know all about the alternative ways to sexually satisfy a person. Of course, I know about that. Hello, y'all know who y'all talking to. Y'all have no idea. I know about that. I just don't want to go through that. No. Hell, motherfucking no. By the way, like I said, when I say pencil dick, that nigga, yo. First of all, like, he's tall, so he's like definitely taller than me. I'm 5'8". He was like at least 6 feet. He was tall, but he was like kind of slim. That's not a deal breaker that he was slim, but that should have said something maybe about the size of his penis, but not necessarily though, right? Because there are fucking skinny tall men that got some motherfucking girth in they dick, okay? Well, nah, so his shit was skinny as shit, and that nigga came quick, and it didn't get better. It did. You would think like, okay, well maybe he just hadn't had sex in a long time, so he had to build tolerance with his orgasm. But nah, this motherfucker came quick every time. Yo, quick meaning like literally a minute, man. Literally, not even exaggerating. That's frustrating. I'm not gonna sit up here and get between my motherfucking legs, all in my sacred space, playing around. Nah, dog. Shut this shit down. Nah. That's frustration right there. That's just, get the fuck off of me, right? So, like, I think inadvertently or subconsciously, that's like, yeah, it kind of manifested itself in other aspects of our relationship. Alright, interaction. He doesn't have tolerance for his ass. Even though we was there, right? I mean, I was like there with him. I was just like nitpicking shit, like, yeah, you're Muslim, you know what I'm saying? You pray all the time, and I had, brought to him. I was like, I don't think it's gonna work, but he took it as like it's not gonna work. I didn't say it's not going to work. I said basically I don't think it's gonna work, meaning how things are happening now is not working for me. So he's like passive aggressive. That's another turn off. Like, passive aggressive men. That relationship I think could have worked. But because he was kind of like, I won't say fresh out of a relationship. It had been, I think, a year, maybe 2 years since his last relationship. But his last relationship was a marriage, though. It was a whole motherfucking marriage. And like, she left him. Yeah, I think he was sadly disappointed by that shit. And so I think that's what his heart like was kind of like, he was still bruised. And so for me to say it's not gonna work, he just like, all right, his hands up with the situation, not really willing or interested in seeing what's not working, right? We didn't even explore, okay, what's not working, have a conversation about it. He was just like, okay. And it makes sense from his perspective. Like, if you've been married, I forget how long, 10 years? How you been married for a while, right? I don't know. Actually, it was, I think, 3 years. 3 years that he was married. And she left him, and yeah, he was just like shocked by that whole situation. And so I don't think he is quite over that. So that's to his credit, right? But even with that, though, I just feel like his personality is just very passive-aggressive. And that don't work for me. So, for me, I'm going to end this video pretty soon. But for me, I like men who are assertive, right? And if you like me, right? You really do like me, and you want to be with me, then act like it. See, men and their egos be liking a woman, sometimes even loving a woman, like really feel strongly about her. Um, but then they have egos, like pride. They're like, oh, I'm not gonna chase her, or I'm not. They look at it as chasing, like I'm not gonna. It's not chasing, but it's just like go after what the fuck you want. You know, you do it for a job. You do it for any goddamn thing else you want. You know if a motherfucker wants something because they're going to put in the effort to get it, right? But then when it comes to a relationship, you kind of acting all lackadaisical about it. Like, I don't care either way kind of shit. Well, I don't give a damn either way either. Right? So, if I'm bringing to your attention that, okay, something isn't working, right? It's just not working. It's super fucking religious. And conversations surrounding procreation, knowing that I want kids, right? And the other thing was the sex. It wasn't so much, okay, part of it was that the sex was bad, but not only that, it was his religious belief. Like I said, it's not the fact that he was Muslim, but the fact that how he perceives and how he does being a Muslim. So how he do it, he's like, oh, well, in our culture, you know, first of all, we can't have sex for marriage, right? But if you're having sex, like, you gotta clean yourself after sex. Now, of course, anybody with a brain, right, and cares about their hygiene, yeah, we all know that you're gonna wash your ass, you know what I'm saying, after having sex. But immediately, like, you gotta immediately, I'm talking about, like, literally milliseconds after you fucking bust a nut, right into the bathroom and clean up. I had an issue with that. He's like, oh, well, that's just a cultural thing. We even do it, like, we even, like, clean ourselves before we go pray. Nah, he was super, like, that super religious shit, that was a turnoff. I didn't like that. I'm like, no, I think the complete opposite. My belief is that, number one, having sex without a condom is natural, and it's how two people can bond better with each other, right? In the mixing of their fluids. Naturally, organically. It's not bad. It's only bad if your ass got an STD. That's what we've been kind of tainted with, right? With these media messages, especially with HIV and herpes and all of that. Of course, you gotta take precautions, but let's, you know, given that we're both fucking STD free, which I know the fuck I am, right? And I'm not gonna have to have somebody who has a fucking STD. That's so we're STD free. I don't like using goddamn condoms, right? And so that was his thing. He had like, yo, this motherfucker had a drawer full of goddamn condoms. Then he got there to have fucking Magnum condoms. I was like, yo, why the fuck he got Magnum condoms in his head? Dudes be wearing Magnum condoms like they shit, yo. That's another goddamn ego booster. It's funny, yo, like with just products in general, how they make products just to suit people's insecurities, right? And I think Magnum, that's a whole thing to suit a lot of men's insecurities with their penis size, knowing damn well you got a little dick, but you getting a Magnum. Magnum's for people who have larger penis size. Yo, shit little. But it's like, yeah, that to me was a turn off. Him wanting to wear a fucking condom, like he was adamant about it. Not so much to protect fucking STD. No, he didn't want to have like pregnancy, right? He called it, you know, out of wedlock. And of course, I don't want to fucking have a child, bring a child to this world out of wedlock. So we on the same page with that. But he's saying according to his religion, it's against his religion to even conceive a child out of wedlock. And I'm like, well, why the fuck are we having sex? Sex is supposed to be enjoyable. To sneak and have sex because your religion says you shouldn't? Nah, I can't. What the fuck are we doing? You playing around like we little kids. I'm a grown ass fucking woman here, right? Playing around like we fucking little kids and we sneaking and gotta hurry up and clean up. Like, the fuck? No, slow down. We're supposed to enjoy this shit. I want to enjoy it to the max. Okay? Raw. You know? Sensual. All of that. And spend time cuddling. You know what I'm saying? You gotta just hurry up and jump out the goddamn pussy and go. Like, that was his approach. And I felt like a whore. I felt like, I felt dirty. It's like his mindset made me feel fucking dirty, right? And I explained this to him. And I'm letting him know, like, I don't think it's going to work, right? And he's just, like, nonchalant about it. But then, come to find out, he gave a fuck. I'm feeling like, okay, his response and how he responded to me bringing that to the table with him and expressing how I felt about it not working, I'm thinking he didn't give a fuck when really it was inaccurate. Like, I find out later that he actually gave a fuck. He wanted it to work. I'm like, well, why didn't you say so? So we did follow up, like, after I got back to LA, because I actually was, like, here in New York at the time from LA on vacation when I had met him back in December 2018. And so I got back to LA and we talked about it. And he's expressing to me how he really felt. And I'm just like, well, why didn't you say so? But men don't want to be vulnerable. So that's another turnoff. Like, come on. All this hard macho, what a man's supposed to be. Like, come on, yo. A man is supposed to be goddamn vulnerable, too. A man is supposed to be authentic. It's called having authenticity, being genuine in how you feel, who you are. Stop trying to walk around with this external hard shell on. When, no, it doesn't mean that you're weak because you're expressing emotions, which is natural human behavior. So, yeah, he's just like stone face, just like acting like he's unbothered when really the whole time he's bothered on the inside. He's hurt. You know, express that. Because you're going to lose out on a lot of shit. That's another turn off. On that note, I'm going to end this video. I've shared a lot of pet peeves here and turn-offs. Feel free to leave your comments below and share with us what are your dating pet peeves and turn-offs. Oh, that's just a little handful I gave you guys. Wow. So yeah, the first one was the Egyptian guy. Ugh, fake ass Egyptian. He had a lot of wealth though. That's I mean, but obviously that didn't really matter to me, you know. The fucking alcohol breath, fucking turn off, and the obsession with his money, my money, like, nigga, that ain't my goddamn money. What that got to do with me? You talking about your money the whole goddamn conversation, right? And then the football player guy, his insecurities, that was just all the way around major fucking turn off. It's just icky, right? And then wanting to check someone's phone, like, ain't nothing sexy about that. Unless you pay for the phone bill. Now, if you pay my phone bill, you can check whatever the fuck you want to check, right? But if I'm paying my phone bill, you don't have access to who texts me or who I text. No. And then the fucking ophthalmologist guy, the doctor, UCLA, like, yeah, total fucking turn off. Sex addict, just sex craved person. Just seemed like he don't get any at all, and just totally inappropriate. Had no etiquette whatsoever when it came to interacting with the woman. And I get it, like, he's so focused on his career that maybe he just didn't have that experience, but that's not my fucking problem. And then, the Gambian guy, just bad sex. Just, so many examples of poor dating etiquette and pet peeves and turn-offs. And the biggest two fucking deal breakers for me is being a drug addict Like, these, you have, like I said, people don't come right out and say, like, you have an addiction to alcohol. And by the way, alcohol is a drug, okay? I clearly wouldn't date anyone who uses, any, like, hard street fucking drugs off rip anyway. That's, no. That's screen for that early on. But sometimes it's hard to really screen out men who are alcoholics. Until you see it in action, you're like, okay, yeah, you have a high tolerance. Because they come off on the first date just sipping little wine coolers or wine, like, and then you see, like, no, that shit add up. Yeah, you got a problem. You see how they behave when they don't have it. So it becomes very crystal clear. And then bad sex, complete deal breaker. Drop your comments below. Tell us what are your 3 biggest pet peeves, turnoffs, and deal breakers. I want to know. Drop your comments below. And if you're a man watching this, which most of my following, y'all are men. Yo, I think over 95% of my YouTube viewership is men. So, I know men watching this. Feel free to share your pet peeves. I know y'all have them too when it comes to women, but I don't give a damn. Because guess what? I'm going to be who I am. And that leaves me, okay, I have to close with this because I kind of said this in the beginning, how singlehood has become like the norm for me. I'm very comfortable in just being single. It's like, it feels good, but at the same time, I think a smaller part of me does desire companionship. But to what extent, though? Is it like to the extent where, okay, we're living together? We're like sharing the same bed every goddamn night. I'm waking up to your ass every morning. You gotta be something to look at. Oh, I gotta slip the last one in. So the last one, this is the 5th guy example, right? Which is actually my best friend. Or should I say was. I put his ass in timeout. And he's he mad. Because I tried to take him out of timeout. He didn't want to come out of timeout. Oh, you mad. But anyway, this is a guy I met back in 2006 when I graduated college. The best friend, right? I wasn't attracted to him physically at all. So we didn't really have sex. And on top of that, I think he was kind of asexual, like a virgin anyway. So sex really wasn't his thing. But we dated for 5 years, and we lived together. We lived together before we dated. We were best friends, right? And even remained best friends after we broke up. But I wasn't attracted to him. I was attracted to, like, his loyalty, though. Motherfucker loyal as shit. I was attracted to that part, and I was attracted to just, he was a sweet guy, right? You could tell he was raised well by his mother, but I didn't like, he was also like, he got like issues too, like passive aggressiveness. I don't like that in a man. And a slight pinch of kind of low self-esteem too, and insecurity. And so we didn't share the same bed. Like, we dated for 5 years, right? We lived together, but we had separate rooms. And he had his room, I had my room, and nah, we did not. That's just not I think call me weird, call me whatever, but I just can't imagine, like, sharing the same bed with a person for the rest of my fucking life. You have to be something to look at. But on that note, I remember, like, when I was in high school, senior in high school, and they have like the senior book, and they have like a section where you can predict your future and talk about things that you want to see manifest, right? And so it had the section where it says, me and my husband will, and you fill in a blank. And I said, live in separate homes. That is so me. That was me way back then. So it's just a personality thing, I think, for me. Yeah. But I come across so many men. so many eligible bachelors, even here in New York. I gave many examples from LA. I gave some examples too from guys I met here, but yeah. You gotta be fucking on point. You gotta be, I don't wanna say perfect, but perfect for me though. Perfect for me to really get my interest and keep it. And I'm going to make a whole nother video, because that's kind of separate. I can talk about it here, but I feel like it's separate on, am I even marriage material, considering what many guys say they look for in a potential wife? Like, am I even wife material? I look at myself, I'm like, listen, I take pride in who I am, but I'm talking about in terms of societal idea of what a wife should be. A woman, like a wife should be to a man. I'm just like, I ain't doing none of that shit. But anyway, I'm gonna end on that note. I'll catch y'all later. Love y'all.